Hello, I'm Mary Lehman, and I'm the Executive Director of Tikkun Farm. We are a small urban farm outside of Cincinnati that does a lot of work with at-risk youth and refugee children. And I want to tell you how I learned about the power of the emotional oils. I was having a volunteer day here, and a friend of mine is a mentor to a young girl and thought bringing her to our farm might be a healing experience for her. But when she got here, she was really concerned that it wasn't going to work because this girl on the entire ride over hadn't been willing to talk, had been unable to make eye contact, and we weren't even sure she was going to be able to get out of the car and join in the things that were happening here at the farm that day. But she did agree to get out of the car, and she came in the kitchen. And while I was fixing lunch for the volunteers, I began to wonder how I could possibly help her feel more at ease and comfortable enough to engage in the things that we were doing here. And my eyes fell on my box of essential oils, and I realized that I had just gotten the emotional oil kit the week before and I hadn't tried it yet. So I thought, well, let's give it a try. So I made a roller bottle of the peace oil, and I brought it over to her. She wouldn't look at me. She was only looking at her feet. She wouldn't talk, but I rubbed it on my hands and I held it out to her, and I asked if she'd mind smelling it, that it was a really beautiful fragrance, and I thought it might help her to feel more comfortable being on our farm. And she agreed to smell it, and then I rubbed it on my wrists, and I asked her if she would mind if I rubbed it on hers, and she allowed me to do that, much to my surprise. And then I just pressed the roller bottle into her hands, and I said to her, you know, this is yours, and you can keep it, and you can use it whenever you feel overwhelmed or a little anxious. I said you can use it today, you can take it home with you. And then I left her to herself. I went back to cooking, and I didn't want her to feel like I was hovering over her. But after about 5 minutes, I turned around just to check on her, and I was just stunned. She was looking up and she was watching me. She agreed to make eye contact with me. I smiled at her, she smiled back. I began to talk to her, and she answered, even though it was a bit tentative. She began to talk, and I realized it was just 5 minutes after I had shared that roller bottle of peace oil with her, and I knew that that oil had seeped into her spirit and into her system and had somehow helped her relax enough to feel comfortable with us. The rest of the day after that was so completely magical. She ended up going down to a fair that we were having for our city. She brought the alpacas with us. She taught the other kids who came to the fair how to feed the alpacas, because that's really the most fun thing to do when you have the alpacas, is to feed them. And then when our mentor took her home, she said that this little girl had taken that roller bottle, which she'd been clutching all day, and she slipped it into her sock. And it just breaks my heart. The mentor knew that this little girl was afraid that her family would take it from her because her family takes all of her things. So she was trying to hide it so that she would have it later. And I just said to her mentor, if it gets taken, we'll just make her another one. But it was such a beautiful day. It started with that oil, it ended with that oil, and it was wonderful that she even knew how precious that oil was, that she was going to hide it and keep it for herself. So my joy was to share it with her, and my hope would be that every kid who comes to camp this summer, we're going to have 240 of them, I hope, would be able to go home with a roller bottle like that, and also have some of the other experiences that come with the essential oils. So anything that you can do to help us while we are collecting oils in the next few months for camp would just be part of this beautiful story of how the oils not only bless us, but they come through us and they bless people who might not ever know about them except for us. Thank you.